Shipwreck, Part 3. The farmhouse lost electricity, plunging the liberals into darkness and conjuring a fantasy encounter in 2003 between President George W. Bush and Donald J. Trump. In a moment, we'll return to the farmhouse, where a storm is raging outside and a secret is bubbling in the room. But first, we move to the room next to the Oval Office.
The twinkling of the silver, the soaring of the violin, the candelabra, the torchlight, the drums, the strings, the torchlight. I stepped forward. I sat down. I lifted my fork.
The farmhouse.
This one's for you, and this one's for you.
Oh my.
And this one is for you.
Oh, a nice Yankee candle. Didn't you say that these were... Ooh, yum, vanilla. Didn't you say normal candles were like little chimneys of toxic petroleum distillate vapor?
Richard's.
My mother.
Oh.
I think she was on the interstate when she realized she hadn't gotten us anything.
We put them out when she comes. I'm sorry, guys. We don't have enough complimentary smells. We're going to be mixing seasons and holidays, probably. What's that red one?
I can't quite tell.
Flower or food?
Might be a fruit punch? Is that a candle flavor?
Probably.
Brings back juice boxes.
Oh, right.
Paradise. Before my mother found out about red dye number 2.
There were juice boxes in El Salvador?
We were here by then.
Oh.
Pumpkin spice.
My favorite.
Is it?
In an actual pie, it is.
So, here we are. This is cozy.
Smells a little bit like a house full of foods.
I'm just gonna go grab a sweater from my room.
Hey, the boiler isn't in some way powered by electricity, is it?
Yes, the starter.
Time to rev up another delightful fire.
Wood was on the list.
Damn. Sorry, Richard.
This place is pretty well insulated. We'll be fine as long as no one, opens the door.
Summertime. Outdoors.
It's the all-town picnic, 4th of July. Most of the families make it, and a lot of them will bring family, friends visiting from out of town, out of the area. And it was one of these picnics, and one of the families brought along friends of theirs from Milwaukee, I think it was. And, well, we hadn't thought about it much before then, but I guess this was the first time he had seen another African-American person like himself, and they had a little boy about his age. And he sees him, and he wasn't a shy kid, but I wouldn't have described him as outgoing. He sees this other kid, he lights up, and he marches right up to him, sticks out his hand, and he says, proud as a peacock, "Hello, guess what? I'm from Africa." We all had a good laugh about it. To be honest, it was kind of a complicated laugh.
You know who wasn't surprised by all of this? The black people. They saw Trump coming.
Yeah.
Yes, so I read in the media.
When we were all so freaked out, how could this happen? They were like, yeah, we know why. And now all heads swivel towards the black people. What else do they know?
Is that what the heads are really doing?
Racism, systemic racism played a part. It totally played a part, obviously, but big, obvious scapegoats aren't going to help us out of this situation.
Okay, wait. Can we hold up for a moment? The black people? The black people?
The black people.
Nope, Allie, it doesn't sit right.
I mean, yes, of course it doesn't. There's a certain deliberate, tart irony there, no? Like, we're all so woke, I don't know if I can fully unpack it, but no, I'm not saying the black people like I think it's okay. It's so obviously not okay.
So ironic racism is fine, is what you're saying.
Didn't we have that little talk about using unpack in normal conversation among actual humans?
Sometimes jargon is useful. Black people. Black people saw this coming. That sounds weird to me, like pseudo-mythic. Black people, green people, people of the mist, zoners.
African American is an option.
Well, obviously, only African American is kind of, I mean, I know this is not my place, but it's a lot of syllables, and it's a little bit formal, like you're trying too hard. And I thought, didn't we have an unspoken agreement that we were, as a group, implicitly avoiding that brand of ultra-performative white liberalism? Also because there's no distinction there. And do black people, or people who are black, use the term? I'm confused about that. And okay, I know this is my own personal private, but there's no distinction between people who were brought here in chains 300 years ago in the hold of a ship and all that, and people from
Allie.
like Namibia who wandered over 20 years ago. And sure, it's racist here, but they have generations of intact cultural identity for backup. These are not the same people.
Oh, you've forgotten colonialism.
I mean, yes, colonialism, yes, but it's not the same. Colonialism doesn't eviscerate. Black people sounds like flat and kind of...
I kind of beg to differ.
Yes, you're right. Colonialism can. I mean, it depends on who, but no, in general, yes. Colonialism, terrible. But it isn't the same. It's just not. But black people, that's... crude, maybe? I mean, crude. No one's black. No one's white. It's a built-in oppositional. It's absurdly reductive when we're really all just a spectrum of tan.
The bourbon is gone.
What?
Gone? Where did it go to?
No,
You drunk all of it up.
Wait, but we really had plans for that bourbon.
it evaporated.
That's not what usually happens to alcohol.
That's actually very good bourbon.
It was.
It evaporated?
We left it uncapped in the cupboard. I guess science did the rest, science and time.
Uncapped. We left it uncapped. Why would we leave it uncapped? That doesn't seem realistic to me.
We might have had too much of it. I think it was you. Actually, I remember you on that couch, and you said, another pour. And I remember I said no, because what a lot I had. I remember thinking, that's hilarious. When was the last time I got this drunk? And you drifted off in the kitchen with it, and I never saw it again.
Well, but damn.
Sobriety. So painful.
So we were going to have eaten this delightful dinner.
And only half cleaned up.
Only half cleaned up because we would have drunk all this nice wine.
The dish is in the sink.
Scraped, stacked. The chicken, I would have carved the rest of the chicken away.
The gratin, the rest of the greens in the fridge, our water glasses on the counter, a stack.
Of napkins.
Our nice casual but still linen napkins and the great color, the candles snuffed.
The carcass out on the counter. No, don't throw that away. I'll make stock.
The pink dessert plates scattered around.
The body alone on the counter, ribs gleaming in the moonlight, waiting.
And then I thought we would all tromp out and look at the moon on the icy lake. We have spare parkas.
2 spare parkas.
It's glorious to be freezing cold in your city coat if you've never looked at a moon reflecting off the ice of a lake in the middle of winter.
It's about...
What you forget, living in the city, is that night is normally very dark. if the moon isn't out, and the woods are dark, and the lake is dark.
I kind of love how you've taken on the responsibility of explaining country life to us.
So when the lake is ice,
And the moon is full.
and everything which used to be in darkness is lit up, and the lake,
More like a pond, really. I think it's really a large pond.
the lake is luminescent. And you stand on the ice, you walk on water, and all around you the world glows.
Until it all cracks beneath you, and you plunge under and die.
Is the moon full tonight?
It's full tonight.
Somewhere above us, above all this driving snow, the moon, the stars.
Sure.
We were never going to go. That was never going to happen. We would have eaten our fill of the wonderful meal. We'd have lots of lovely wine in us.
It would, in fact, have been very nice. We would have been in a lovely torpor.
And now we're not in a lovely torpor, but there's a snowstorm.
The snowstorm would be so great if we were in a lovely torpor.
And if there was a proper breakfast waiting for us in the morning. I don't say that as a reproach. I'm just stating a larger truth.
Allie is right. We weren't going to do the right thing. Let's be realistic. People never do bestir themselves at the right moment.
Is that true?
Mitch McConnell steals a Supreme Court justice. We're not in the streets. And if in the future the Republican-controlled Senate blocks all principal witnesses from some sham of an impeachment trial, you won't see us in the streets. Not then. Not when that same Senate issues a report showing that the Trump campaign knowingly accepted help from a hostile foreign power. Not when it gets even worse. We were never going to make it out to the lake. Not after that dinner and that nice wine. Why didn't you bring wine? Isn't that what guests do for a weekend upstate? Bring wine?
We were going to pick up the tab for dinner.
Oh, my God, really?
Yes, we thought that might be a nice gesture.
That would have been a really nice gesture. That place is expensive.
We know, we looked it up online.
And we didn't have time to swing by and pick up wine. And there was nothing in our stash we felt like gifting.
And we're rich.
So,
I knew that, but how rich, just out of raw curiosity? 1% rich?
yes. I looked it up, yes.
But only just.
Not far past the cutoff. And mind you, we are in the real lowlands of the 1%. There's a very steep rise not long after us. We're treat our friends to a nice dinner because we're too lazy to find wine, 1%.
Busy.
Not too busy to find a nice wine. Not chopper owning 1%. Not offshore investments globalistically controlling the world, 1%. Those are the people you want to pursue with torches, not
you.
Not us.
Good to know.
There's a little bit of offshore. Let's be honest about that.
Oh, is there? He handles the portfolio.
We'd be fools not to.
All right. Well, we don't own a chopper, you guys. Do not set us on fire.
Were you going to tell us this beforehand? Or just announce it as the bill arrived?
Oh, I was just going to grab that check.
Or I would.
But it would probably be me.
I would have ordered differently, that's all. That's an imaginary meal which is now sitting very differently in my non-imaginary gut.
We're pretty frugal at the moment.
Are you?
I mean, yeah. Yeah, that's going on.
And yet, we live.
But we couldn't split the check, all those dishes and wine. We'd have to silo off our portion, drink water. We almost didn't come, but we figured you could handle realism.
I'm sick of taste. And I'm sick of caring about food. I think I'm post-taste. Actually, I'm post-taste, and I am post-food.
Wait, tastes like what happens in your mouth or the things?
The things, the pretty things, the interesting things which delight you and define this instant you're living in, and which are costly either of money or of time and ingenuity and devotion, the curating and locating, and maybe in your mouth also. I mean, seeking out, endlessly seeking out good new food, and the restaurants and the cooking and the shopping and the sourcing, all of that time, all of that expensive spirit in and then it all just evaporates. And what have you done? You've consumed. Are we really just going to spend the rest of our lives eating things? I want to be post-food. I so badly want to be post-food.
A lot of them, it makes total sense they voted for Trump because the alternative was Hillary. And they genuinely, very sincerely believe that Hillary Clinton has murdered 100 people.
With her bare hands?
I don't know. That's a lot of people. She's a pretty busy lady.
It's so funny. I don't believe a word of it, but in a weird way, I wouldn't put it past her.
Really?
Uh-huh. Yeah, I kind of can't stand her.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
Mare? That's crazy. Why do they think that Hillary Clinton has murdered 100 people? Do we know that?
It's a really good question. Why do so many people think that Hillary Clinton, a woman who has been in the national eye for 30 years, scrutinized for her every misstep, has become one of the great mass murderers in history? Is it because she has actually killed 100 people, or is there another reason?
I think a woman who had actually committed 100 murders would have a better shot at the presidency. Those people, those 100 murder people, they're usually pretty charming.
Right, yes. Your average sociopath is a lot more fun than Hillary Clinton.
There is something about these times which is beautiful. Things are awful. So awful and surreal, but everything is important right now. Everything is at stake. This is an important time to be alive, to actually talk about actual things and to put our shoulder to an actual wheel. And all of these terrible things, they didn't appear from nowhere. They've been here all along. They are part of our history, part of our souls. It's like Frodo puts on the ring and sees everything. You can see all of the things of darkness.
You make it sound exciting.
On some level, yes. If I'm honest, it is exciting. It feels fundamental. It feels real. I feel, I'm not going to say woke. There is no waking. There is no clear-eyed look at reality. But I do feel roused from a half-pleasant and drowsy delusion. It feels like, it does feel like now is a time when we can actually, if we really bear down on it, if we don't freak out, when we can actually, now is the time to actually work to make America what it is always promised it could be, when the struts of everything are laid bare. This doesn't have to be a demolition site, right? It can be a construction zone.
It is beautiful. I think it's important to remember that that's also hugely a perspective of privilege.
Oh, no. No, Mare, no. Not the privilege thing.
Sometimes jargon is useful.
But we're just having a very delightful discussion of Lord of the Rings.
Or alternately, about the genuine reconstruction of America.
One thing I appreciated about those movies was the ending. The part where we see the fates of all the characters, and I appreciated the fact that what we learn about Frodo after all of his adventures is that his fight against evil has damaged him forever. He can't live in this world anymore. He has to go with the elves to be a kind of spiritual invalid in the Western lands. He has looked into the heart of evil, and he will always be half broken. We pay a price, a real price, when we lift the veil and we battle the dark part of the soul.
Well, but what? We shouldn't, that's something we shouldn't attempt?
No, by no means. Look, it's a movie. I don't know. I appreciated some clarity about the stakes.
I voted for him, you know.
Wait, what?
I voted for him.
No. Voted for...
Yeah.
No shit, Louise.
No.
Because you believe Hillary Clinton murdered 100 people?
No. I actually did.
You did not.
I did.
No, you didn't.
I did.
But you hate him. Don't you hate him?
Yes, I do. Very, very much.
But
why? Because I realized, standing in the ballot box, that I could. It was an electric moment. I took the card. I fed my ballot into the machine. It was done.
You were a chaos voter.
Are we not entertained?
did you feel regret the moment you done it? Did the significance whoosh in on you?
No, I didn't feel regret. I did feel my stomach lurch. Like I'd really done something, which is not the way I normally feel when I vote, BT dubs.
You would not have done this in a red state.
No, of course not.
Or in a purple state.
No, only in New York City. Only in the bluest city in a blue state would I do this thing, this wicked thing. This wicked thing I did without consequence. Although, is any wicked thing without consequence?
And you didn't tell me this.
Of course I didn't tell you.
Only you're telling me now.
I'm not telling you. I'm telling everybody. Oh, we're going through a rough patch, of which this is the least of it. He'll be fine, I promise. He's tougher than he looks.
Jim Jones. That's the liberal equivalent. We lose our way there.
Jonestown? Jim Jones? No.
Wait, Jim Jones.
Kool-Aid, drinking the...
Oh, yes, right.
I mean, no, I insist. Let's keep it. Let's be better than them. I'm going to insist on perspective. Sorry, Jules, this is your living room. Richard, your living room, your rules on perspective.
We're pro-perspective, definitely.
We're the good people. We're the fair people. Or did I just pounce on you and police you? I just pounced on you and policed you.
I think you were just arguing.
Yeah, you were just arguing, baby. You're tired.
I'm totally tired. Kind of dreaming on my feet. And there's part of me, somehow it seems weird to be awake and suffering late into the night without giving birth to someone. All of this, what the young people would call emotional labor. And what does it get us? Does it get us Jonestown? No, baby.
People's Temple. San Francisco, 1976. Or 77, because Jim Jones, we've forgotten this, but Jim Jones starts out not as a cult leader, but as a charismatic preacher / social justice warrior. This is a man who, beginning in the 50s, is working for civil rights, is working for economic rights, a man who is working to form mixed-race congregations where the word of God isn't just a consolation to the oppressed, but a way to bring people together for real change. This is a man who says that God isn't in a book, God is in our hearts and in our actions. And this is a man of actions, a man who takes the poor into his church, a man who actually welcomes the dispossessed, a man who forges an organization which offers real programs, real services, jobs, housing, care for the sick, care for the elderly. This is a white man who cares, genuinely cares about black people, who adopts a black child and names him after himself. A dynamic man, a disruptor. like no minister you've ever experienced. He swears in church, throws the Bible across the room, dresses hip. The music is great. The sermons are about right this very moment with a serious socio-economic analysis. This isn't a congregation. This is a revolutionary community, and all of this is in the 70s. This is the dream, right? The liberal dream of relevance. My folks were in Reading at this point. They drive down to see friends in San Francisco, go to a service with them, and now they're nuts about the whole thing. They make that drive down, and it's 3 hours over and over. They're always threatening to bring me and my sisters. This is what they want to dedicate themselves to. This is what they want to give their lives to. They were seriously talking, I remember this, about moving to San Francisco, joining the temple. But my grandma is ailing now. There are the horses, and they're broke enough. It isn't even for a fairly impulsive pair of people still in their 20s. It doesn't make sense. My mother, years and years later, not long before she died, my mother told me about a moment she'd had in the kitchen. It's this old rundown farmhouse they had bought kind of idealistically, and it was always falling apart, and there's all these pines that side of the house. The kitchen's dark and probably leaking somewhere, and dishes in the sink, and we're running around and yelling and being obnoxious, and the phone is ringing, and it's probably my dad's mom, and she's going to need something, and my mom is going to have to go over. And as the phone is still ringing, she had this flash, this vision of San Francisco at that very moment, with the light streaming down from everywhere, and the painted Victorians and white stucco bungalows, everything lit up and bright and breezy, and the bay gleaming, the palms glittering in the light, the sky stretching up to forever, the tower and the pyramid and the hills ringing, the bay, white sails on the bay, the light streaming down, and she could see herself right at the entrance of the temple. All those joyous people coming together and swaying together and crying out together and making the future happen together. And she said she did it. She went upstairs and she pulled out one of the big suitcases and started throwing everything in it, and in like 2 seconds, she was ready to go. She said it probably wasn't a rationally packed suitcase, but it was a packed suitcase, and the next thing she knew, she was downstairs, and she had the car keys in her hand. And I said, "What made you change your mind, Mom?" I thought she would say, "One of you children," I'm sure I pictured me, looked up and smiled, and it was a moment of grace. And she said, "No, I just gave up. I gave up on my dream." Mayor George Moscone, big supporter. Harvey Milk is a big supporter. Jerry Brown, Willie Brown. Jane Fonda talks about him. Rosalind Carter, Walter Mondale meet with him. And if you actually spend time with the man, you may definitely think there is something about him which is a little strange and a little remote and a little not right. But this is a man in charge of the dream, remember? The irresistible progressive dream. So what if there's something about him? So what if your gut tells you something? For all you know, it's indigestion. Because you need a disciplined and enthusiastic multiracial crowd for your press conference, you call Jim Jones. You need platoons of canvassers and an army of voters? Jim Jones delivers, and every halfway liberal-minded politician jumps onto that bandwagon. He took the progressive leadership of San Francisco to the top of an exceedingly high mountain, and he showed them the world, and they did not step back. They did not look away. We're no better than they are. Those poor Republicans, they've been waiting for this their whole lives. The wall, the swamp, the city on the hill, the trumpet. He's showing them the world from an exceeding high mountain, and they cannot tear their eyes away. No one ever thinks it's going to end with children heaped on the jungle floor and a puddle of Kool-Aid seeping into the earth.
So strange to be afraid of the Russians. I feel like my childhood, I was all... But the Russians love their children, too.
That was the commies. Not oligarchs, autocrats. We still oppose ultra-capitalism.
Right, yes. Thank you. I knew we had core values and principles.
What's that?
Ice maker.
Ah. But if the electricity's out? Maybe he's actually an angel.
Nothing about him seems angelic to me.
Well, it wouldn't, right? If we're demons, right would seem like wrong, and wrong would seem right.
Wait, why are we demons?
The right thinks we're demons. Maybe they're right. They are called the right. Right?
Oh. They are. They are called the right.
So maybe they're right.
If he's actually the Antichrist, we're fucked, right? There's nothing about the checks and balances of our... I mean, this isn't something the Founding Fathers... Wait, wouldn't the Pope have sensed it during that visit? Wouldn't he have said something?
That's not his bailiwick. He spent all of his time doing social justice. Those priests who can identify demons and exorcise them, that's a whole separate... I think it takes years of training. I'm not sure those guys are well positioned politically within the church. I mean, I sort of feel like it's a geek specialty.
He did look really glum after that meeting, though.
I like to think Francis is the kind of man who, if he met the Antichrist, would say, "Okay, now, boys, on the count of 3, and they'd grab him, throw him down, and exorcise him."
Not with the Secret Service right there.
You can't exorcise the Antichrist, can you? When you're exorcising someone, you're getting the Antichrist out. If he's already the Antichrist...
Where does it say the Antichrist is the Prince of Lies? In the Bible. But what part?
Somewhere in the New Testament, right? The Jews don't really have an Antichrist. You don't have a Christ. You don't have an Antichrist.
It's an impoverished existence.
You must have a Bible, right?
At home, yes. Somewhere, I'm sure.
This is an old farmhouse. Surely there's an old Bible.
They cleared it out very thoroughly.
We hoped there'd be a stash of stuff in the attic. Wonderful old dressers and chests with books and things, letters.
Yeah.
Harvest registers. But it was all very tidy and swept bare.
What's that thing about the mountaintop, about showing them the world from the mountaintop? How does that one go?
The devil taketh him up into an exceeding high mountain, and sheweth him all the kingdoms of the world and the glory of them, and saith unto him, all these things will I give thee, if thou wilt fall down and worship me.
Whoa.
Huh.
Ye are of your father the devil, and the lusts of your father ye will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar, and the father of it. It's just father in the King James, father of lies.
Amazing.
Do that again. You're just whipping these out. I had no idea.
Where are these coming from?
From my youth, Allie. The wonderful old dressers and chests of my youth.
Oh, right.
The Spirit of the Lord God is upon me. The Lord hath anointed me to preach the tidings of hope to the poor. He hath sent me to heal the brokenhearted and proclaim to those in chains, soon the doors to your captivity will tremble and open wide. I console those who mourn. I give them beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for their sorrow, the garment of celebration for the spirit of heaviness. You will rebuild upon old ruins. You will raise tomorrow from the rubble. You will reclaim the desolations of many generations.
Okay, but can I ask, I mean privilege. Privilege, and I know, Mare, you mean that word sincerely, and I mean, I do not disagree at all. I just think, and maybe it's because when we went to college, we were trying to divest from South Africa. I mean, very futilely trying to divest from South Africa, like sit-ins in little apartheid shacks on the quad, etc. So that was where the term white supremacy was on many lips, and what that meant, what white supremacy meant, was a very small number of white people who had marched in very historically recently and totally commandeered a population of people who had been there forever and like squashed them and denied them pretty much everything. And that's very clearly, that is very clearly white supremacy, right? Because that's this little batch of white invaders holding down an entire country. So maybe that's why the term white supremacy, I mean, I have a hard time really getting behind it or sinking my teeth into it because, I mean, isn't a certain amount of this really white majority? Which is a thing, totally. It's a thing. I mean, and different in the South, obviously, where you really had and have had. But it is a categorically less pernicious thing. I mean, no, there's a majority. There's a degree to which any majority always disregards and pisses off the minority. I mean, right? Every group of people seeks to be in the majority because a majority is just a much, much more comfortable place to be because it's like, culturally, it gets to be like your own way, like the holidays and the religion and the school holidays sync with the religious one. And there's all of the nice sharing of assumptions. So who wouldn't want to be in the majority? And is that really the same thing as supremacy? Or is supremacy, when we say that, is what we're doing? Is that a way of talking about the toxicity of assumptions of any majority? I mean, have the two terms become in some way or another conflated in a way which is maybe unhelpful? I just feel like saying we're in a white supremacy is like saying America is the Death Star and we're all stormtroopers. I mean, rhetorically. And I feel like the problem is actually maybe more nuanced than that. I mean, putting aside all of the out front racism, obviously.
Gotta pee.
I mean,
Allie, this isn't about holidays, and this isn't about different cultural practices.
Sure, no. I was just extrapolating.
To a point where I almost can't figure out how to engage with you on this.
How to engage with me on this? What is that? That's a little managerial, isn't it? You don't need to figure out how to engage with me on this. We're just discussing.
Are we discussing it, Allie, or are you holding forth?
I'm booting the ball in the air, and anyone can come take it up however they want to.
It feels incredibly careless outlook. It's late. Can we just not do this tonight?
Okay, this is such a white liberal thing, though, right? To shut down our own debate?
Our debate? This isn't my debate. And I'm not shutting down debate. I'm shutting down a certain kind of energy and language.
Wait, okay, because I think it's important to be clear on this. Do you have a problem with what I'm saying or the way I'm saying it? Because those are two different things.
You know, they aren't really.
And this is, ladies and gentlemen, this is Exhibit A. White liberals cannot talk about race without
Allie,
pouncing
Jesus.
and policing.
If you want to blunder around all over the map, fine. That is your...
Do not say it. Do not say white privilege to me.
I was going to say prerogative.
Of course you were. Who says prerogative? Only lawyers.
Allie, caring about language doesn't make me a humorless scold. And how does do not say white privilege to me? How is that not itself as toxic an assumption?
As toxic? Toxic how?
Your assumption that my objection to the way you are discussing this is programmatic and non-thoughtful and on some level insincere.
I'm not saying it isn't sincere, but I also think on some level it is sincerely kind of bullshit. All of us, how are we supposed to advance the conversation and get somewhere on all of this if we're just constantly clipping, if we're always editing ourselves?
Allie, when you hit the topic of race, I don't see you seriously advancing the conversation. I see you throwing around some pretty radioactive language, and forgive me, but I just don't want to be leeward of that.
Radioactive language? Language shouldn't be radioactive. You know what's radioactive? Uranium, dirty bombs, not language.
Language is the most dangerous substance on Earth. It's like someone lights a little rocket underneath you and you just go with no steering mechanism.
I do that all the time. I am never steering. That is my freaking appeal.
No, it's not.
And I'm always the one who is, for some reason, responsible for catching you and never holding you to your execution, only holding you accountable for your intention.
Okay. Forgive me for not adopting an atmosphere of hush and throwing in 7 different caveats every single time my lips touch the sacred topic of race in America. Is there really not? Is there no calm, steady way to discuss this? Because I am trying to ask questions and I am trying to learn, and there are no actual Black people in this room. All the actual Black people in the room are imaginary, so why can't we? I mean, isn't the whole point that we're supposed to sort this out amongst ourselves and not torment Black friends with our weirdly, badly phrased questions and theories about this? But it isn't going to happen if we aren't bringing weirdly, badly phrased questions and theories into the room because of imaginary Black people.
Allie, they aren't imaginary.
I know they're not imaginary. I mean, obviously, I know they're not imaginary. Christ.
Allie, you are not talking about it in a calm, steady way.
There is no calm, steady way to talk about any of this.
Any of what? I am such a fast peer. This happened so fast.
It is always profoundly awkward, or maybe it's just me who is profoundly awkward and everyone else has it totally squared away. But isn't awkwardness an important part of growing? Like, kids are incredibly awkward and louche and terrible members of society, but we put up with that because we know. And Andrew, you're not a heartbroken Black person. You are not a person who is Black, whose heart has been broken by having to be Black in America because race. So why are you taking on that emotional freight?
You mean, why am I actually caring about it and not entertaining it as a whole series of intriguing hypotheticals? I don't know, Allie. I must just be weak. You're gonna need to find a more merciless and steely white person than myself to play these games with.
Games? Christ. Andrew, I'm your oldest friend.
Only because we met a long time ago.
I did it deliberately.
Did what deliberately?
Voted for Trump. It wasn't an impulse. I went in planning to do it. I might have done it in a purple state.
You wouldn't have done it in a purple state. You wouldn't have done it if all the papers weren't saying Hillary was going to win. You wouldn't have done it for real.
I could say I murdered someone and you'd find an excuse for me. Some rationale.
When you love someone, you believe the best of them. Am I wrong to believe the best about you?
Was it just because chaos?
You are loving the chaos theory.
I'm struggling to... contrarian.
Are you libertarian?
I said contrarian.
I know. Are you libertarian, secretly?
I think it was... No.
Did you think it might be in your financial interest?
No. I like my wealth. I mean, I do. I like to think about it growing. It's like you would enjoy a baby increasing. It doesn't matter what your baby's been eating. You don't apologize for feeding your baby, even if it's everything you believe in. If your baby's hungry, and every baby is hungry. But...
Because you know he's a terrible businessman. You know that. I mean, didn't you and I have a whole conversation about the 6 bankruptcies and failed casinos, and banks stopped loaning him money in the 90s, and he's no doubt leveraged up the wazoo to the Russians. And what if he ends up proposing? Like, in 8 months' time, what if he proposes this disastrous tax cut which benefits the middle class for like 2 seconds and the 1% forever, and strips the Treasury and sends deficits into the trillions? What if his only fiscal strategy turns out to be endless tariff wars? What if some batshit crazy thing happens and he fumbles it in his batshit crazy way?
I believe he'll total the economy one way or another. I do. Although remember, I'm smart enough to get in and profit from a rise. And I'm smart enough to get out and profit from a fall. So honestly, what my dark, hidden motives were on that, who knows? But that wasn't what I was thinking.
But Luis, how can you just shut down your perspective? Your perspective as a
lawyer? You'd be surprised how many lawyers voted for him. Look it up sometime.
Okay, then why? I mean, seriously.
Because maybe he's what we need. Maybe that's what the times require. Maybe we need a dark spirit, a dark reckoning. And you're thinking, no, evil, it is not the way. In the end, evil does not win out, but where does that idea actually come from? Is it a practical idea or is it a sentimental one? Your belief in the ultimate power of goodness, doesn't that come from the movies or the Bible, from the Lord of the Rings and Star Wars and old war flicks from the 50s? I mean, do we actually think there is a God? Do we really think there is a master plan? Is morality truly more than a convenience? Maybe that is a luxury we are long past. What do any of us actually know about leadership, history, and who among us liberal, privileged, bubbled us, is really able to say he is not what our country requires at this moment? Will there be great injury? Maybe. That's necessary for some sort of larger safety or security or reconciliation of all of these toxically conflicting interests which rack. I mean, the structure of the republic is shuddering. Maybe modern democracy is a failed experiment, and when the framers founded a nation run by the rule of law and accountable to the will of the people, not controlled exclusively by the wealthy and powerful, was that perhaps idiotic? Maybe rationalism was just the first European fad to sweep America, and now it goes the way of Godard and techno and fondue. Maybe the good guys are not, in fact, the right guys. And maybe it takes a clown to destroy the structures. And maybe we only let that happen when we're laughing, when we're entertained. And make no mistake, everyone in this room is on some level deeply entertained. And maybe the man who comes next, who rises out of this rubble, who brings order to this chaos, law to this carnival, maybe that man will be our man or woman, our asshole, our truth, our just and righteous liberal king. And maybe the future, which knows best, will forgive us. That, at any rate, is, I think, what was in my mind when I checked that box, fed my ballot into the machine, walked away. It was a guess.
Would you have, would you have, if you knew he would win, checked that box and fed the machine, if you knew he would you have?
I don't know. I truly, truly don't know.
The room next to the Oval Office.
Mr. Comey. I'm going to call you James.
Mr. President?
Take a seat. Wine?
No. No, thank you.
It can be water.
Thank you.
Take a seat.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will.
I hope you enjoy a good steak, James.
I do, Mr. President, I do.
You're going to love this one, then. It's the best. I'm glad to hear you're not a vegetarian. I've got nothing against vegetarians, personally, but the guy who's got to head up justice, that's a guy who's got to make the tough decisions, and I don't know how a person does that if they're squeamish, right?
I suppose that's right, Mr. President?
Yeah, it's absolutely the case. Absolutely. Are you a James or a Jimmy? That's my question. Tall guy like you, and I think of Jimmy Stewart. Are you a Jimmy Stewart fan, James?
I am, actually, Mr. President.
That doesn't surprise me at all. Me too. Here's what I love about him. He isn't afraid to be on the outside. His characters. I mean, no idea about the man. Actors. I want to say they're always disappointing. I've known a lot of the really big ones. You'd be surprised how badly they want to meet me. Even before I'm president. I'd say, that's great. But why me? This is Brad Pitt or Burt Reynolds, John Travolta, and Robert Redford. Definitely Robert Redford. The biggies. They'd say, you're the real deal. Clooney said to me, I make fantasies happen on the silver screen, but you, sir, you make fantasies happen in real life. It's really something, isn't it? I mean, right now, the political atmosphere in Hollywood in particular, there's a lot. And it's a real shame. There's a lot of those people can't say openly about me. Jimmy Stewart always plays men who aren't afraid to come out of left field and aren't afraid to speak their mind and aren't afraid to stick up for the little guy. I'm a big fan. Well, I'm sure that's not a surprise to you.
Not at all, Mr. President.
I think you've got that quality. I don't say that just to blow smoke up your ass. It took a lot of guts what you did in the campaign. I know you were standing up against a pretty unparalleled set of political machinery.
I made a call, Mr. President. I will say, however, that it made me extremely uncomfortable to involve the FBI in any way involve the FBI in a political. I can assure you that nothing could be further from my intention.
Consider me assured. Believe me. There's an expression I came up with, Jimmy. Well, let me call you James for now. Voice for the voiceless. Voice for the voiceless.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I've never been afraid to speak from my gut, and it's meant a lot to an enormous number of people, to an absolutely enormous amount. You've seen the maps, I take it, the electoral maps. Red counties, clear across the United States, just a sweep. Unprecedented. And the largest number of electoral votes since Reagan. Greatest electoral victory since Reagan. Something caught in your throat? You need a slap on the back?
No, I'm fine. I'll be just fine.
You let me know. Don't want justice to die on my watch. Though, if you gotta go, a mouthful of exceptional steak is the way. Me, I want to die biting. It actually means a lot to me that I've been able to be that. For so many people. It's the biggest thing I've ever built, this movement. And it's funny, after a lifetime of work, which has had so much to do with real quality, sometimes that's something people don't recognize. You'd be surprised. Take me, for example. I'm an outer borough boy. It's only 9 miles from Forest Hills in Queens to, for example, Trump Tower, the most prestigious address on Fifth Avenue. But that's a small accent, and that's a different manner, and you got your money a different way, maybe through sweat, the hustle. Means that certain people, they look at you. They can't see you. Can't see you at all. It's like you're invisible. So a lot of what I've done with a lot of my life, I've taken things which are invisible, and real quality is invisible to most people, and I've made them visible. And I've used gold to do it. And what small people want to call boasting, and I call celebrating, here's what I've said. All my life, I've said everyone is important. Everyone is important when they're wearing silk. Everyone is important when they're standing in a building which is the color of gold and which uses a fair amount of actual, in the executive fittings, leaf, and plating. That's what I've said to the American people. You are high quality, and I can guarantee it. Don't let other people tell you you don't mean anything just because you aren't the right color. By color, I mean gold. People say, you've made those people gaudy, and I say, where you see gaudy, I see someone who was finally given the right to shine. Given the right to shine. It's humbling. It's generally been an honor. I give them hope. But this isn't something I can do alone. My business, I run that on my own. Ivanka is a big help. The boys are helpful. But I handle it. This United States government, it's not a job for one man. I need to know my team is loyal to me, James. I'm going to call you Jimmy. Loyalty. That's my number one. Gotta have that.
Mr. President,
Because otherwise it's all just politics, right? We're all just reeds in the wind. And this cuts both ways, of course, because I can be loyal in return. Very loyal. I can cover your back because this is an unruly old world. Wouldn't you agree? More, steak?
No, thank you.
Don't want you to be hungry.
Thanks, Mr. President. I'm full.
Of what? Kidding. Just kidding along. No, as I was saying, you're going to need an ally in the administration. You're going to need political cover. You have to have your back to something, to a solid old tree, to an oak. I can be that oak. With your back to this sturdy, humble oak, all the wrongdoing in the world. We'll give you every resource you need for, all of the justice.
Mr. President, my budget is allocated by Congress.
Where your money comes from, yes. But what about your power?
My power?
Your justice power. What have you? Where does that come from?
That's enshrined
in the Constitution. I know. Jimmy, forgive me. Jimmy, I named you well. You are a fearless man of ideals. But if anyone should know the impact of an eloquent speech delivered at the 11th hour, it's you. Your power doesn't reside in the Constitution. It doesn't reside in the Congress. Your power, your real power, is an intangible, held aloft in the world mainly by habit. It exists only so long as we all pretend it exists. When we no longer pretend, it vanishes. At this particular moment in history, January 27th, 2017, I'm in the mood to pretend that your agents are men of integrity, that your bureau is not riddled by partisan king-making, corruption, treason, pedophilia, Satanism, bloodletting of infants. Our heaviest institutions can be unraveled by the lightest word from the right lips at the apt moment. Our verities are feather light. You just lean your back against this old oak. This old oak can withstand a mighty wind. You just let old Papa Trump know that you're going to be his man. So what will you be, Jimmy? Will you be my man?
Mr. President, I am honored by the trust that you place in me. But I...
Careful, Jimmy. A but. I never like to hear a but. Careful.
Mr. President, do you understand that I cannot pledge a personal... that I am not a person. I am an institution. I mean, obviously, I'm a person. I'm corporal. I'm incarnate. I had a mother, father, sperm egg. I was an infant, squalling, helpless. I was a child, ignorant, hopeful. I'm an accumulation of genetics. I have idiosyncrasies. But you didn't invite a person to dine with you. You invited an institution. I am that institution, and I cannot. I mean, it's not in my charter. The Constitution... I can't. I will. Let the waters rise. Let the ice shrink away. Let the snow wither from the mountains, the skies thunder and descend. Let the winds rise. Let the winds blow. Let the winds blow. Let the winds blow it. Blow it all away.
You saw this in a movie once, didn't you, Jimmy?
And now hear this. O ye that swallow up the needy.
You saw this in a movie where a tall man stood up.
The labor of the small has made you mighty. The weakness of the poor has made you rich.
In a movie.
Shall not the land tremble for this? And will not everyone mourn and shudder that dwelleth therein?
We've seen so many of them. We feel like they
See how they hate the man who rebuketh the past. See how they abhor him that speaketh upright. The Lord despises your feasts and your pieties.
But they aren't, are they?
Your luxurious foods, your fine napkins, your curated liquors, your patriotic songs, your beards, your finely honed outrages, your hysterical superiorities, your arrogant weaponries, fantastical TV series, vacations, symposiums, rallies, falsehoods, statues, cages, superheroes, playlists, ratings, kitties, puppies, wall, babies, selfies, your endless, selfish, solitary, selves, your pride, kneel.
And that's how we know that the movies...
The Lord commands you to take the knee, to kneel before his justice.
That's how we know.
Let judgment...
The movies won't be our
Let
future.
Judgment.
We make our future here. In this moment.
Let judgment run down as waters and righteousness as a mighty stream.
In this moment. This one here. Season the now. Hear me, O people of the United States of America. I am the chosen one.
Here I stand. I can do no other.
If there were to be a man in the future, 2016, a politician who... Now, I'm a mature adult, right? I'm a citizen, and I'm also a Christian. It doesn't have to be all about me. I understand what a government is. But I see immigration policies which just don't make any sense to me. We're a nation of immigrants. I understand that. Legal immigrants. But why does it make sense to let everyone in who wants to and look the other way and use a lot of public funds to support them? It just doesn't, I mean, tell me how that is going to be sustainable financially in the long run. So I'm just tired, frankly, of wanting to talk about, well, the practicality of all this and being told that I have to shut up because I'm a racist. And if a man came along who was willing to actually address all of this instead of pretending that none of this is an issue, and without a lot of the rhetoric, which frankly, well, anyway, I'm just tired of using one word or term or another, which was a perfectly good, respectful word or term to use all my life, and then being told, and not politely, that I'm a racist or a sexist or I'm phobic against this or that. And suddenly there are 12 different genders and there can't be any discussion about it. I'm just plain wrong. And if this man had ways of talking about all of these things, which I found, and this is a funny word to hear myself say, but I'm going to say it, offensive, and also not like he did any thinking about it, would I still vote for this man? Here's what I have to say about racist. Racist doesn't usually mean a person who hates another person because they're a color. That's how we use it. And why we call people we don't like racist, because it's an easy insult. But a lot of people who get called racist, they don't hate someone who is another color. They just don't know what that person who has a different color is talking about. Usually when we use the word racist, we should use another word, which means you aren't listening, or you haven't been paying attention. You aren't taking my experience into account. So does it bother me that my son is growing up in a world where people see the color of his skin and don't give him the attention they would if he had skin my color? If I thought about it hard, if I really let my mind go there, yeah, I guess it might make me a little crazy. But people don't listen to me all the time. See, I've got a little farm stand out front. It's a bit of extra income. My wife will man it sometimes, and we've got this woman, Becky, we pay to sit out there, and sometimes I like to do it. And people come from the city, and we get to chatting, and, you know, they're nice people. Well, they really are. But if I tell them what I really think about things, well, at best, their eyes glaze over, and I tell you this, if they're polite, if they're not polite, there's no moment, not a particle of an iota of an instant, where they actually consider that they should take me or my views seriously. I find it annoying, but I don't think being paid attention to is the most important thing, and I don't think having to battle your way through the world a little more than the next guy is so bad in the long run. So if I thought someone was working for our greater good and they were doing it in a way which might strike me as, not optimal, I guess if I thought they were effective about it, that would be the most important thing. And if this was someone who people said who wasn't entirely truthful, well, I guess I would say, who among us is entirely truthful? I wish I could believe anyone was. And let's be honest about this. All politicians lie. There isn't any way of getting around that. So, if this man came along and I thought that, all things considered, he was going to make this nation a better country for me, for my son, and for the granddaughter who I will not live to hold in my arms, but who will be named after my father's mother, Hannah, would I still vote for this man to be President of the United States? And the answer is that yes, I would. And if this decision was something which made my son, well, if it was something he found perplexing, If I had a heart attack walking back from the farm stand, that part of the path where it bends towards the house and you can't be seen from the road, if I fell into a pricker bush and for the time before I passed, lay just only aware of a flock of geese from the old pond at the end of the meadow, soaring, a stream of them, above the house and into that late autumn sky. Oh, the blue, the light. Would I find anything in those last moments to change my mind? Sometimes fathers and sons part ways for a little while. Sometimes there's a silence. And sometimes that silence is long.
Hello, squalling new era. Beautiful because you are new.
Terrible because you are hungry.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome.
And
hello.
Hello.
Imagine there is a moment, just one moment of calm, in this massive storm.
We wrangle the parkas, the spare parkas, the city coats. We open the door.
We forge through the banks of snow in the small meadow.
We walk onto the water.
And look all around us.
And where there was darkness and the things that hide in dark, now it is bright as day.
And everything is revealed by an orb so full of light.
It could almost be the sun.
And the world of the night gleams brightly around us.
As we stand
on the ice.
This production of Shipwreck is a co-production between the Public Theater and Woolly Mammoth Theatre Company. Shipwreck was developed and had its U.S. premiere in February 2020 at Woolly Mammoth Theatre Company, Washington, D.C. Maria Manuela Goyanis, Artistic Director, and Emeka Abe, Managing Director. First produced and performed at the Almeida Theater on February 19th, 2017. Audio version and original stage play by Anne Washburn. Directed and freely adapted by Saheem Ali. The original music was composed and performed by the Bengsons. And the sound design was by Palmer Hefferon. Audio engineering by Ultraviolet Audio. Matt Boynton, owner and chief engineer. Lead audio engineer, Anya Zeshik. Our assistant audio engineer was Beth Lake. Our dramaturg was Sarah Lunny. And our creative content producer was Ivan Idebery. Raz Golden was the assistant director and script supervisor. Janelle Casso was the production stage manager, and Luisa Sanchez Colon was the assistant stage manager. Our cast: Mia Barron as Mare, Brooke Bloom as Allie, Phillip James Brannon as George W. Bush, Bill Kemp as Donald J. Trump, Rob Campbell as Jim, Raúl Esparza as Luis, Jenny Jools as Donald J. Trump's secretary. Soo-Jean Kim as Jules. Bruce McKenzie as Lawrence. Joe Morton as James Comey. Jeremy Shamos as Andrew, and Richard Topol as Richard. Additional voiceover from Michael Braun. Additional commentary and analysis from Saheem Ali, Kwame Anthony Appiah, Will Arbery, Mia Barron, Ivan Idebery, Raúl Esparza, Oscar Eustace, Rupert Gould, Maria Manuela Goyanis, Jeannie O'Hare, Palmer Hefferon, Soo-Jean Kim, Sarah Lunny, John McWhorter, Joe Morton, and Anne Washburn. The Lester T. Mertz Charitable Trust provides leadership support for the Public Theater's year-round activities. Lead support for the public's digital programming provided by the Blavatnik Family Foundation, Open Society Foundation, and the Howard Gilman Foundation. Additional support provided by the Harold and Mimi Steinberg New Play Development Fund, the Schubert Foundation, the Tao Foundation, New York City Department of Cultural Affairs, New York State Council on the Arts, and the David Rockefeller Fund.